and welcome to another episode of the Stogie Review video review. And well, it's time for another review again. And my apologies, I didn't get around to telling everyone what I was going to be reviewing this week. I had a little bit of a hiccup. I was going to review the the El Titan de Bronze, and I had a little bit of trouble with it when I looked into it. It seems that the cigars may have came in a little wet. So rather than smoke the cigar and kind of struggle through it because it wasn't properly humidified, you know, they had recently been shipped to me, and you know, most likely due to the heat and a little excess moisture in the cigars, you know, they were a little soft. But at any rate, I picked up a replacement, which was actually sent to me by Joe, not very long ago, actually just recently. He sent Jerry, Brian, and I outstanding packages, and inside the package were these Padilla 1932s. Now, we each got two of them. I smoked one earlier in the week, and really had no idea what I was smoking. I smoked the cigar, and well, I'll tell you later what I thought of it. But at any rate, I began looking up the information a little bit, and lo and behold, I found out that it was a limited release, and I was kind of surprised to see such a cigar, and it's kind of uncommon to see things like that come in packages in the mail. But at any rate, thanks a lot, Joe. I really appreciate it. But to get into a little basic information on the cigar, as I had mentioned, these are Padillas. These are made in well, I don't know whether I should say they are made or they were made. Actually, I think the phrase should be were made in the El Rey de los Habanos factory in Miami, which they are no longer produced there. That was the Pepin's outfit. And as I had mentioned in an earlier video, that Padilla is opening his own factory in Miami, where these will in fact be rolled. Now, some specifics on the cigar. It looks a little large to be a Lancero, but that is the Vitola size. It is a 6 7/8 by 42. The wrapper is a Nicaraguan Corojo, the binder is a Nicaraguan Criollo, and the filler is a combination of Criollo and Corojo Nicaraguan tobacco. And as I had mentioned, the origin is Miami. The price point is about $13 for the Lancero. And just looking real quick, I was able to find them on SeriousCigars.com. I've heard of a lot of great stories from that place. People seem to be very happy with them overall. Now, recently I sent Ernesto Padilla an email asking him about this cigar, and I just sent him a quick couple of questions just to try to go beyond the run-of-the-mill basic information you see on all these cigar sites. So if you head over to SeriousCigars.com, you're going to find a little write-up. You know, I'm trying to get away from that little write-up and get something interesting. While Ernesto was very busy and wasn't able to answer my question, he did forward it along to a Mr. Tim Wong, who is the Western Regional Manager for Padilla Cigars. And you know, he thanked me for sending in the email and whatnot. And you know, I'm just going to read it off. Some of the questions I asked were, what inspired the blend? And Tim responded that two things inspired Ernesto when he was blending the Padilla Signature 1932. First off, the 1932 commemorates the year Ernesto's father, Herberto Padilla, was born. This blend was created in his father's honor. Second, Ernesto has always had a goal of creating cigars that are true to his Cuban roots. That is, cigars that are balanced, full-flavored, but not overpowering. The 32 is perhaps our most balanced cigar. It retains a nice kick, but has an explosion of flavor. The second question I had was, will the production of these continue in your new factory in Miami? And the answer to that is yes. 3 of our lines, the Padilla Miami, 1948, and Signature 1932, will all be rolled in the new facility. I asked how many were produced per year, and if they were in fact a limited release. And while he didn't have an exact figure for me, he did tell me that in 2007 there were less than 1 million cigars rolled. And that is single cigars, not boxes. And I wanted to know how often Ernesto smoked this particular cigar, and Tim kind of gives me that sarcastic little smiley face, and says one of the perks of being the boss is he smokes these cigars every day. And it was a quick couple of questions, and I really appreciate your time, Tim. It's nice to get some hands-on information and not have to rely on manufacturer websites, retailer websites. There's a lot of conflicting information out there, and I really like being able to go right to the source, and I really do appreciate that. So with all the brand information out of the way, it is time to quickly go over the aspects of the cigar. And it looks fantastic. It's got a very nice, elegant look to it. There's a couple of medium-sized veins. They feel relatively flat. There's no lumpiness to it. Cigar feels consistent from head to foot. It's just a tiny bit soft, not really hard or firm, or it's got a little bit of softness to it. Nice spring. When you press on it, it does spring right back to shape. And it looks and feels great. It's got a nice oily sheen, nice dark wrapper. The draw is excellent. It's got a nice sweet, sort of fruity flavor to it, which I'm liking as well. But at any rate, I'm looking at the clock here, and I've talked a little bit too much. So at any rate, I'm going to take a quick break, toast and light my cigar. I'll be right back. We'll get started on the first third and see how the Padilla 1932 Signature starts out.
Were the last one I would pick to carry such a big stick. Where once she spoke so softly to me, the world was in every kiss, every kiss. Who you are and where you've been can all change on a dime when you see a light in an eye.
Well, welcome back. And as you can see, I'm plugging right along with my Padilla Signature 1932, and so far I'm really enjoying it, quite a bit actually. My experience with the ash is a little, I've got a little bit of a mixed feeling with it. Just as it gets to just under an inch, it becomes very unstable and drops suddenly. Now, this is easy to combat against because after the first two drop on the table, you know that when it gets to about an inch, you need to make sure that you tap it off in the ashtray. And once you do that, there's really no issue whatsoever. The ash doesn't flake, it doesn't leave any mess. It just has a tendency to drop suddenly. And that probably has a lot to do with the fact that it's a 42 ring gauge, and there's not a whole lot of girth there to hold the ash on when it gets very long. The ash is light in color. The burn line is even. It's got a real nice dark oily burn line that runs around the cigar. The resting smoke is light. It's nice and aromatic. I mean, I've got the windows open, so I'm not getting much smoke collecting in here. But I really do like what I can manage to smell, before it exits the room. The draw is a little free, but it's not so loose that the cigar has a tendency to get overheated. It seems to do very well and stays cool. Again, I'm a slow smoker, so that may be part of the reason why it stays cool. Each puff produces a very generous supply of very rich, thick, dense, flavorful smoke. It's that type of smoke that also, all the cigar smokers out there that I know really appreciate. It's really easy to get through your sinuses. It just kind of wafts around in the air. That really nice, thick, dense, chock full of flavor type of smoke. The body initially, first couple puffs, it's medium to full, and the finish is smooth, and it leaves you with this sort of crisp feel on the palate. After a few minutes, the body seems to settle a little bit and then begins to move more toward the full range. And the finish, it still leaves this nice crispness on your palate, and it's just very smooth and easy going. There's no bitterness, there's no bite, there's no harshness. It's very smooth and very enjoyable. The base flavors, the most notable one that I'm getting is a rich leathery flavor, and some of the secondary flavors include wood and spice, and I get the spiciness especially when I pass it through my sinuses, and there's a very nice combination of flavors there. Now the real complexity sets in for me anyway is after I expel the smoke, through my nose or through my sinuses and mouth and whatnot, and you just kind of let those residual flavors linger for just a minute, and then the complexities really come through, and you just kind of chomping at the bit. You're ready to pick the cigar up and take another puff. It just seems that those residual flavors just really open up the door as far as the complexity and character goes. It's actually, I'm finding that in between puffs is actually more enjoyable than actually puffing on the cigar almost. It's just very rich and flavorful and complex, and I'm liking everything I'm seeing from the cigar at this point. So with that said, I'm going to take another quick break. You can take a look at some pictures of the Padilla 1932, as well as listen to a little music courtesy of the PodSafe Music Network at podshow.com, and I will be right back to get started on the second third.
Crazy. Hi-fi and you're all mine. I like the dial on the 99.9. Push the volume to the red. Come on, fill my head. When I listen to you, I don't know what to do. Going out of my head.
Welcome back, and it's about time now to get through the second third. I'm soon going to be approaching the final third, and I better get a move on. So far, I mean, I don't know, cigar's just getting better and better as I go. After roughly 50 minutes or so, I'm into the second third, and things are beginning to take a slight shift. Now, the base flavors, which were predominantly leather just a short while ago, they're now more of a very rich, deep Corojo flavor with the leather as a secondary flavor. It's still there. And in the background, I'm getting these woody flavors, mild sweetness, nice pepper spice kind of thing going through my sinuses. And I'm really enjoying that dynamic there. Now, just as before, after you expel the smoke, that's when the real goodness or character and complexity really sets in, and all these other nuances really come out and become very apparent. I don't know, I just can't say enough for it. It's very nice when you let it settle, those flavor nuances, the residual flavors that really, I don't know, dance around on your taste buds or something. I just really enjoy that. Now, the body has progressed as well as I've gotten further into the cigar. We're in the full range, but it's not overbearing, overpowering. There's enough there to cut through a heavy dinner or a rich drink of some sort, and really keep your interest without kind of just knocking you back in your seat because it's too much. It's a very nice balance, and the finish is just as it was before. It leaves you with a nice, crisp, clean feel on the palate. It's smooth, it's easygoing, and when all this stuff plays together, it makes for a very nice cigar. And I can't say that enough. I'm enjoying it very much. Now tonight I'm pairing my Padilla 1932 with water, and I can very easily see this cigar going with something like, I don't know, a red wine, although I'm not much of a wine drinker. This will definitely stand out against a rich, dark, black coffee, which I like to drink. And it's got enough depth and oomph and just enough kick behind it to really make it through anything that I could think that would be a little overpowering for a lot of other cigars. But it's doing very well. Now, as far as the construction or the burning characteristics of the cigar, it's going very well, just as it was before. The ash still drops off at about 1 inch long, so you have to remember, just knock the ash off when it develops to just about 1 inch. It's very compact. It's not flaky. It's fairly light in color. The resting smoke is fairly mild. The burn rate is about average. As I had mentioned, I'm a slow smoker, so 50 minutes at this point is about average for me. The draw is just as before. It's a little on the free side, but it's not so loose that I'm over puffing and making the cigar hot. It stays cool. The smoke doesn't get harsh or bitter. Everything stays just as it's supposed to. And just as before, it's very thick and easy to get through the sinuses. It's got a dense sort of feel to it, but that quickly goes away and you get this kind of crispness. The denseness I'm referring to is almost like a creamy texture, but not really. The crispness just seems to wash it away, if that makes any sense at all. But at any rate, I mean, I'm very happy with it at this point, and I don't have a whole lot to say because I don't want to keep repeating myself. I'm enjoying it, and that's just all I'm going to say about it. So, at any rate, I'm going to take a quick break, take a look at some more pictures of my Padilla 1932. Then I will be back. We'll do the final third. I'll wrap things up. That should be on your way, and well, we'll see how the final third goes. So sit tight. Well, welcome back, and as you can see, it's about time to wrap up my Padilla Signature 1932. And well, just like the first third and second third, I'm experiencing a bit of a change with the final third, and that is that the body seems to have spiked. It goes from sort of the low end of full to the high end of full, and it's a nice transition. Along with the increased body, the finish changes a little bit too. It no longer leaves me with this sort of crisp feel, and I'm getting a little bit of dryness, but it's the mouth feels very heavy, and it lingers for, I don't know, a minute or two, which is very nice. The combination of this new finish along with the body. Now, in addition to the change in the finish and body, I'm also getting a change in base flavor. The primary flavor before was this rich Corojo flavor, and it's still there. However, it's much more flavorful at this point. It comes off as being much deeper and far more full flavored at this point. And the secondary flavor, which was leathery, that's faded and is replaced by that woody flavor. It just seems to come forward, and it's a nice complement. Now, when I get the smoke through my sinuses, I get an extreme spiciness, which is a characteristic of cigars that I enjoy as well. So we're firing on all cylinders here. I'm really liking this final third. Now, I enjoyed the earlier parts of the cigar, but now we're really getting into the sort of the meat and potatoes of the cigar, and I'm just enjoying it quite a bit. Now, the only trouble I'm having with the cigar at this point, and it's expected with a cigar of this size, is that it's beginning to get hot. And while it gets hotter, it doesn't necessarily get harsh and taint the flavors. They're still very rich in there. It's just it's mildly uncomfortable. So you certainly need to slow down the puffs at this point. Now, as I've said numerous times before, there's not a whole lot of people that smoke the cigar down this far or even further, and I'm definitely going to be smoking it further down. So if you're the type of person that lets the cigar go out in the ashtray, when you hit that mark of the band, then I really think you're going to lose out on a lot of what the cigar has to offer. The ash is still firm and compacted, drops off at about an inch. I'm still not getting any flakiness. It's a very neat cigar, and the burn rate is about average. I mean, I'm sitting at about 90 minutes now, so an hour and a half for a 42 by 6 7/8 is very good for me. I don't feel like the cigar has picked up the pace, where I don't feel like I'm rushing through it or I'm smoking too fast. The cigar is just performing very well, and has been from start to finish, and I just can't say enough about it. I really enjoy it. Now, as far as my thoughts go, I think this is a very tasty cigar. It's one that I definitely want to have, 1, 2, maybe 3 of in the humidor, just so I can pull one out on occasion. But the price point makes it very difficult for me to purchase, especially on a semi-regular basis. At $14, or in the neighborhood of $14, it's well outside of that norm that I fall into. And I generally buy cigars in the $5 range. So when we're talking 3 times the price, while on occasion it doesn't seem that bad, it's very tough for me to spend that kind of money. Now, knowing that I'm going to get every bit of that $14 out of the cigar, it makes it a little easier to purchase. But again, at that price point, it's just going to be difficult for me to purchase the cigars. Now, with Padilla producing these in a new factory, I don't know what it's going to do for cost. Now, he's no longer sort of subcontracting it through Don Pepin Garcia, so I don't know if the price is going to come down or if it's going to go up to cover his overhead of his own building and whatnot. So it's going to be interesting to watch how Padilla's price point plays out at this point. Now, I'm not quite sure when the factory is slated to open, if it's open already or whatnot, but I don't think they're producing cigars for next year just yet. But then again, I could be wrong. Hopefully Ernesto and Tim will both watch this video, read the review, and chime in with their thoughts and let us know what's going on with the factory, because I'm very interested to see what's going on with it. I'm eagerly anticipating being able to purchase Padilla-made cigars. I don't want to get into the whole thing about Don Pepin Garcia again. I touched on it a little bit in the last episode of Your Questions, My Answers, which you'll see on Sunday. But again, I enjoyed the cigar very much. If you ever find yourself in a cigar shop and you have $14 burning a hole in your pocket, this is definitely something I would recommend trying. It's got very rich, tasty flavors from start to finish, and it only gets better as you smoke along. So anyway, with that said, that about wraps up this review. And well, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to be smoking next week, so my apologies for that. I will try to actually post what I'm smoking. It was this week was slated to be the El Titan de Bronze, but as I had mentioned before, the cigars being a little wet, I wanted to hold off. I don't want to smoke wet cigars and give it a bad review if the cigar was actually better than I experienced. And it seems I took a look at Jesse's review over on Cigar Jack, and he finds those cigars very enjoyable. So hopefully when these cigars sort of mellow out a little bit and hit my preferred level of humidity, I'll get the same results, but you never know. So, but anyway, I'm going to take off. Appreciate you taking the time to watch the video, leave comments, and everything else you've done to support us at this point. So until next week, happy smoking.